Last week, Elmo, our red furry friend from Sesame Street, checked in on X, formerly known as Twitter, asking, "How's everybody doing?" None of us expected the flood of answers he received. Over 2 million views and tens of thousands of replies. And not just, "Great, Elmo, how about you?" but deep, heartbreaking responses that were honest, thoughtful, and authentic. Most could be summed up in this one: "Not good, Elmo, not good." Or this: "I really try to be happy and strong at work, but sometimes it's just too much, Elmo. I'm struggling." Or this: "Elmo, we are tired." And the Detroit Free Press tweeted a day after the Lions' tough loss, "We've been better." Seems like everyone could be better. There are so many worries these days, with all of us carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. I'm not sure what it was that opened up the floodgates, perhaps just that the question came from Elmo, and because it was sweet and genuine, people just let it all out, unburdening themselves in a way that they don't usually do. It's hard to see people suffering. In our Jewish community, I know that a lot of us are learning to say, "We are not okay." I just didn't expect to hear it from the whole country, and neither did Elmo. He promised to check in again with us soon. When times are tough, we need to do something. We need direction and motivation, because it's too easy to just sit back and let things happen. We end up feeling sorry for ourselves. But with a purpose, things begin to feel better, lighter, happier. As we all know, it's now standard practice for causes to create awareness months or days like Pizza Awareness Day or Golden Retriever Day, or a specifically named Shabbat, where values coincide with the Torah portion. And as luck would have it, that's the case this week with Parshat Mishpatim, which is filled with hundreds of potential causes. Parshat Mishpatim is the portion that follows the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. It's generally referred to as the Book of the Covenant because it contains a list of laws and values that direct us in creating a functional and meaningful society. It deals with practically every topic under the sun and takes the ideals of Torah and puts them into real-life context. And since the reversal of Roe, reproductive rights is the topic that everyone is talking about. It's on the ballot in at least 11 states and possibly more. Since this Shabbat has been deemed Repro Shabbat, to focus on reproductive rights through the National Council of Jewish Women, we might wonder what Judaism has to say about it. Well, in short, it is permitted, actually required, in order to save the life of the mother, and allowed in a lot of other situations as well. Let's look at our Torah portion, which says, "When two or more parties fight, and one of them pushes a pregnant woman and a miscarriage results, but no other damage ensues, the one responsible shall be fined accordingly." Now, what do you notice? This is actually a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer. It's a case of compensatory damages, not murder. And don't think the rabbis were afraid to talk about murder. They did it all the time. This just isn't that case. Judaism does not believe that life begins at conception, nor is it deserving of legal protection until birth. You can find a good summary of the Jewish view of abortion on mujewishlearning.com and other places around the internet. There are many sources throughout the Talmud. In short, it's not that abortion is encouraged, but it is allowed. There are also a lot of recent statistics showing that where abortion is lawful, pregnancies are healthier, and women and babies are safer. According to the data from NCJW, maternal death rates are 62% higher in states that ban or restrict abortion, and babies born in banned states were 30% more likely to die in their first month of life. Bans disproportionately impact women of color, and 84% of pregnancy-related deaths are preventable. 84%. Because of the politicization of reproductive rights, and yes, I know that it's always been political, not just in these last years, women are not getting the health care they need and deserve. Our communities need to be places where those who are pregnant are in control of their own health care and know that we will support them and their choices, based not in politics, but in Jewish tradition. As we progress through the Torah portion for cause number 2, I'd like to move to one that is less fraught with angst, but sadly, it is just as challenging, and that is Israel. I was talking to one of our Shinshinim, our Israeli teen ambassadors, the other day, commenting that it must be very hard for her to be here and not in Israel with all that is going on. She just smiled at me, and she said, it's actually the perfect time for me to be here, to teach our students about Israel, to be our connector and our messenger, so that our students understand exactly why Israel is so important to the Jewish people. That very night, I went home and collected our mail only to discover a check from Israel Bonds, a bond Danny had received as a bar mitzvah gift and had matured, and he was thrilled, and so was I, because Israel Bonds are a great way to give a gift and support Israel at the same time. Now, I had originally assumed that tonight was Shabbat Shekalim, a biblical awareness Shabbat of its own, a night that we often talk about Israel Bonds, which is what I wanted to do. I assumed that it was tonight because it often coincides with Repro Shabbat, and we rabbis must choose which cause we want to talk about, and this year I was going to talk about both of them. But it turns out it's not Shabbat Shekalim, because 5784 is a leap year. We celebrate an extra month. It's called Adar, an extra month, Adar 1 this year, and Shabbat Shekalim isn't actually until next month. So you're going to get to hear that sermon in a few weeks. And so for cause number 3, while we are celebrating the month of Adar 1, we will celebrate Adar 2 next month, we are also in the month of February. And next week is the Jewish holiday of Valentine's Day. Wait, did I say Jewish? Well, it's not a Jewish holiday exactly, but Jews love love. And over the years, as part of my work with Jewish Women International, we have created a Shabbat to be observed in the month of February called Shamor La'amor. It's a combination of the Hebrew word shamor, which means guarding or keeping, and l'amor, which in French means love, where we honor healthy relationships. The ancient rabbis taught that the giving of the Torah was analogous to a marriage, and Mount Sinai served as the chuppah. The relationship between God and the people of Israel was a true partnership, which they proved at the end of our Torah portion. After all the rules are laid out, the people of Israel say aloud this phrase, Na'aseh v'nishma, which means we will do and we will hear. And when I hear these words, it feels as though God and the people of Israel are exchanging wedding vows, committing themselves to each other forever. Truth be told, Na'aseh v'nishma is sort of an awkward phrase, but if you consider it in the context of a marriage or a wedding, we recognize that in relationships, it's not just about what you do for each other, but it's also about active listening, being fully present, listening to understand and not just respond, and engaging in genuine dialogue. Consequently, Na'aseh v'nishma becomes the essence of what a healthy and happy relationship is, expressed through loving, helping, supporting, encouraging, and yes, listening. And that is what it's all about. And I think that's what our friend Alma was trying to do too, by simply opening space for people to speak and be there to listen, even if it just is a red, furry puppet. And to that end, I was particularly moved by these words from Rabbi Sharon Brous' new book, The Amen Effect. She writes, "Imagine a society in which we learn to see one another in our pain, to ask one another, what happened to you? Imagine that we hear one another's stories, say amen to one another's pain, and even pray for one another's healing. I call this the Amen Effect. Sincere, tender encounters that help us forge new spiritual and neural pathways by reminding us that our lives and destinies are intertwined. Because ultimately, it is only by finding our way to one another that we will begin to heal." And to that, we can only say Amen and Shabbat Shalom.